Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. This video is part of the YouTube series that I am making called Zero to Hero Business Central. In this series, I already uploaded few videos on my YouTube channel. You can check them out on my YouTube channel in this series called Zero to Hero Business Central. In this particular video, we are going to go over table triggers and page triggers. So firstly, if you see over here, table triggers. Triggers get executed when a certain event occurs. So even on page or on table, the triggers get executed when a certain event occurs. For example, let's say if this is a table, and in this particular table, if I'm adding a new record over here, at that time, this OnInsert event will trigger. So OnInsert gets triggered when a record is inserted. So when a new record is inserted inside the table, the OnInsert trigger will get executed. The OnModify gets executed when a record is modified. For example, let's say there is a value 4 in here and I am changing the 4 to 5. At that time, the record gets modified, so OnModify trigger gets executed. The OnDelete gets triggered when record is deleted. For example, let's say I wanted to delete this particular record from this particular table. At that time, the OnDelete gets triggered. The OnRename trigger gets triggered whenever a primary key of a record changes. For example, let's say this is a primary key and the value in this primary key is, let's say, 10. Now I wanted to change the value of 10 to 11. At that time, the OnRename gets triggered. So let us see these triggers in code. I'm going to open my Visual Studio Code. In here, in the last video, we have created this table called employee table, and in here you can see there are different types of triggers: OnInsert, OnModify, OnDelete, and OnRename. So first we are going to check the OnInsert trigger. So here we are going to write some code. So let us write that. So message inserting new employee record. So whenever a new employee record gets inserted in this particular table, this OnInsert gets triggered. So let us publish this one. Now we have published that change. So let us see that how it actually works in the UI. Now I'm going to open employee page. Now here you can see I have 3 records, 10, 20 and 30. Let us now insert a new record, let's say 40. And now inserting new employee record is shown on the UI. So if we see, this particular message is now shown on the UI. That means the record gets inserted whenever the primary key value is inserted. So now let's see, the primary key value is 40. So it is inserted once we type the value inside the primary key. So let's give the value to the employee name and let's say age is 40. And let's try that again. Let's see, let's insert one more record. And again, you can see inserting new employee record. So whenever the primary key value is inserted, the records get inserted inside the database. So that is OnInsert trigger. And let us go now to OnModify trigger. The OnModify trigger gets executed whenever we modify a record. For example, let's say I am changing the value of employee age to 50. At this time, the OnModify records get executed. So let us put some code in the OnModify. Let us copy this code and let us paste it over here. And now let's say we wanted to modify the record. Modifying the record, let's say %1. Yeah. Now we are going to modify a specific record. So the message that will be shown to the user is modifying the record and with the employee ID. So let us publish this one. Now let us open employee page again. Let me just modify this Tulsidas record. Let's change the employee age to 19. Now you can see modifying the record 10. The employee ID is 10, so that's why it is saying modify the record 10. So the OnModify trigger gets executed whenever we modify a particular record. Now let us go to OnDelete record. Again, I'm copying this one. Let us paste in here and deleting the record %1. So the OnDelete trigger gets executed whenever we delete a particular record in the table. So let us see. Let us publish this one. Now we have published the changes, and let us go to employee page again. Employee page. Now let us delete this record with employee ID 50. So let us see. I'm deleting. Go ahead and delete. Now you can see deleting the record 50. So the OnDelete trigger gets executed whenever we delete a particular record. I am clicking on OK. Now let us see the last trigger that is in the tables is OnRename. So let me just do it. And here I am going to put renaming the record %1. So this OnRename gets executed whenever we are renaming the particular primary key of a record. So let us see that in action. Going to go over employee page again, and let us rename this employee ID to different ID. Let me just give it 50. Yes. And in here you can see renaming the record 50. So whenever we do the primary key change, the OnRename trigger gets executed. So now let us see what are page triggers. In page also we have many triggers available. For example, OnOpenPage, OnAfterGetRecord, OnAfterGetCurrentRecord, OnQueryClosePage, OnClosePage. We are going to see 4 of the triggers, and we are going to see OnAfterGetRecord at last in detail. So firstly, if you see OnOpenPage gets executed when a page is opened. So for example, in our case, when we are opening employee page, we can also write code in OnOpenPage that will be executed whenever that particular record opens. And OnAfterGetCurrentRecord gets executed once the selected record is retrieved. So if we are on page and if we are selecting any particular record, if we want to do something at that time, then we can write that code in OnAfterGetCurrentRecord. And OnQueryClosePage gets executed just before OnClosePage. So OnClosePage gets executed whenever we are doing the closing of the page, but just before that OnQueryClosePage also gets executed. So let us see those in action. I'm going to go and open my VS Code, and in here we have created employee page. In here you can see I have many triggers available: OnOpenPage, OnAfterGetCurrentRecord, OnAfterGetRecord, OnQueryClosePage, and OnClosePage. So first let us write some message in OnOpenPage. So let me do that. Employee page is open, and now let's actually comment out these particular messages in the triggers in the tables, and let us open the employee page and let us publish this. Now I'm going to open employee page. Now here you can see whenever I am opening the employee page, the message comes as employee page is opened, which we have given over here, employee page opened. So the OnOpenPage gets triggered whenever we are opening a page. And let us write some code in here. So whenever we select a particular record, at that time OnAfterGetCurrentRecord gets executed. So let us publish this one and let us see how it actually come across in the UI. Again, I'm going to open the employee page. Employee page. First, we are opening the page. That's why the employee page opened is shown, because the OnOpenPage gets triggered. And once after that, currently we are on the record 10. So that's why the current employee ID is 10. So that's why the OnAfterGetCurrentRecord gets executed for this particular record, and this is what we get to see. And I'm going to click on OK. And if I choose this one, again the OnAfterGetCurrentRecord gets executed, and now we are going to see the employee ID as 20. So let us see. You see the current employee ID is 20. That means this code gets executed whenever we select a particular record. And if I choose 30, again current employee ID is 30, and if I choose 50, current employee ID is 50. Now let me actually comment these out, and let me write some code in here in the OnQueryClosePage. Closing the employee page, getting triggered from OnQueryClosePage, and let me also write the same thing in here but on ClosePage. So OnQueryClosePage will get executed first, and after that OnClosePage will get executed. So let us publish this. Now let us wait for it to load. Let us go to employee page again. Now let me actually close this page. So if I click on this one, this will actually close. So first you can see closing employee page getting triggered from OnQueryClosePage. So first this particular trigger gets executed. Once that trigger gets executed, the OnClosePage gets executed. Closing employee page getting triggered from OnClosePage. So OnClosePage gets executed. Now let us actually see the OnAfterGetRecord trigger. If you see over here, this trigger is independent of the currently selected record in the UI. When it gets raised depends on when the UI needs to load more data and the block size of the data read. So for example, in a list page where rows are read in larger blocks, then the OnAfterGetRecord trigger will be raised for each of the records read before the page is shown. So let us see what that actually means in the UI in Business Central. So let me actually write some code in here in the OnAfterGetRecord, and let me actually comment this code out, and let me just copy this, and let me just paste it over here, and it's uncomment, and I'm going to actually publish this. So let us see how actually OnAfterGetRecord behaves. So now let me open employee page again. Now here you can see when I'm actually opening the page itself, the OnAfterGetRecord gets executed. I think that gets executed after OnOpenPage. The OnAfterGetRecord, in OnAfterGetRecord, the current employee ID is 10. Also for 20 also it is going to get executed. As we seen, it does not actually depend on the record that we selected. So current employee ID is 20, current employee ID is 30, current employee ID is 50. So for all the records, the OnAfterGetRecord gets executed, and I'm going to click on OK. Currently I am on 10 again. So yeah. So what happened was, in a list page, the OnAfterGetRecord got executed 6 times. Firstly for each record, 10, 20, 30, 50. After that 10 and 10 again. So let me just click on this 20 and let's see if OnAfterGetRecord gets executed again. Yes, it got executed again. Now the current employee ID is 20. I'm going to click on that, and current employee ID is 20. Again, it got executed. So for the selected record, it is executing twice, and when we are actually opening, all the data is retrieved to be shown to the user. So that's why it gets executed for all the records. Now let me choose this 50 again. Yeah, it is the same behavior. So those are table triggers and page triggers. If you like this video, you should definitely consider subscribing to my channel. And if you don't want to miss any of the videos that I'm going to upload in this particular series called Zero to Hero Business Central, you should definitely subscribe to my channel. Thank you.